At the end of this slide, you can get clarity. So the difference between active and passive immunity. Here in this slide, you cannot get clarity. Next slide, you can get full clarity. Here, active immunity, resistance are developed against the disease. And here this is individual response because of the, antigens, individual response. See here, antigen, stimulus. How these antigen enter based on this, again two types. Naturally antigens enter, or artificially we are injecting antigens in the form of vaccines. So that's why here active immunity, again two types, natural, artificial, or natural active, artificial active. So remember one important point, in active immunity, antigens enter in our body. In response to this, our body produces antibodies. So that's why antigen stimulus present. These antigens enter natural. Natural means through the water, droplet infection, inhaling of contaminated air, so by different methods. Okay, antigens, microorganisms enter in our body and our body produces antibodies. Or wantedly we are taking antigens in the form of the vaccines, etc. Whatever may be, so this antigens enter natural or artificial, antibodies compulsory produced. Okay, so how these antigens enter in our body based on this here, so this active immunity two types, natural active, artificial active. So again first natural active, see here I am giving some information, this give very clearly the difference between active immunity, passive immunity. So in active immunity, this is an antigen, microorganism enter in our body, and passive immunity, directly antibody entering in our body. Here this antigen entering in our body by two methods. So one is natural, for example cough, cold, virus enter in our body, and in response to this antibodies developed. That's why after 3 days, 4 days, cold, so virus or cold reduced, because our body developed resistance. And vaccination, through vaccine we are introducing antigen. In response to this here, antibodies produced. So here directly antibodies entering in our body through the placenta, through mother milk, or directly immunoglobulins, antibodies are injecting into our body. So like this, in active, antigen enters, in response to antibodies produced. In passive, directly antibodies are enter in our body and target that antigens. In this active, our body produced own antibodies. In passive, so somewhere antibodies are produced, some persons, in other person antibody produced, and they entering in our body. Okay, so like this, so antigens, antibody, this concept is very, very important. Next, natural active. Okay, in natural active what happens? Natural infection. Generally infections spread, microorganisms spread person to person. For example, smallpox. Once you are getting smallpox, 99%, second time smallpox not possible. Reason, so smallpox virus enter naturally in our into our body. In response to this, our body produces antibodies. Whenever second time, so smallpox virus enter in our body, already present antibodies inactivate them. So natural methods, through the water, through droplet infection, through the aerosol, through the air, or through the touching, etc. So different methods, antigens enter in our body. So this is called the natural active. Okay. So cold viruses also, once that virus enter in our body developed antibodies. Second time, in case the same virus enter, so it not cause any damage because antibodies present. And so artificial active. So here artificially we are introducing antigens into our bodies through the vaccination. So that's why here vaccination, immunization, vaccination is an example of so adaptive, active, artificial, active immunity, AAA. So adaptive, artificial, active immunity. So here natural active, artificial active. Naturally means naturally microorganism is enter. So artificial meaning externally we are injecting antigens into a person body to produce the antibodies. Next, passive immunity. In passive immunity we are introducing antibodies after infection to reduce that microorganism load or to reduce the disease. We are introducing antibodies. Here sometimes drugs, chemicals not shows that much effect on a person body, or microorganisms load more and more in person body. To reduce that intensity or their microorganism number, instead of giving chemicals, we are directly introducing antibodies, also called immunoglobules. In COVID-19 it is also called plasma therapy. Here in this plasma contains antibodies. Why we are giving plasma to other person, COVID-19, disease infected persons? Because plasma contains antibodies. Scientists with help of technology, biotechnology, developed MABs also, monoclonal antibodies, MABs. So here monoclonal antibodies synthesized outside of our body in laboratory or in industry, biochemical, biotechnology industry, a factory or pharmaceutical industry, injected to our body. This antibody act on that antigen. So whatever may be, here in passive immunity, antibodies are entered. Antibodies give immunity. Again, this is two types, natural passive, artificial passive. In natural passive, immunity from mother to child through the breast milk or through the placenta. Through the breast milk or through the placenta, antibodies enter in our body, so give protection to children or that child. So here natural passive immunity. So naturally antibodies, produce antibodies enter in our body. And next here artificial passive. Here in artificial passive, already antibodies are produced somewhere and we are injecting them into the diseased person body. So here immunized donor to recipient, antibodies, so we are transferring immunized donor to recipient. Here recipient is a diseased person's, donor meaning here already disease affected or especially we are by injecting antigens we are producing antibodies in their body. Okay. So for example again COVID-19. COVID-19 one type of the treatment is a plasma therapy. In plasma, why they are doing this plasma therapy? They are taking plasma from already COVID affected patient. So COVID affected patient contains these antibodies, virus resistance antibodies. Instead of giving pure antibodies, we are giving plasma. So here because of that virus or antigen, immunity developed in one person body, one organism body, we are transferring simply that antibodies into the diseased person body. So for example, see, for snake bites, we are taking antibodies from horses by injecting slowly some venom, snake venom into the horses. Here doctors or laboratories persons, they induce the antibodies against the snake bites in horses. So they purified that antibodies and giving in the form of snake bite injection. So here antibodies are produced somewhere, we are isolating them and injecting into the person or the affected person. Same diphtheria, tetanus, COVID-19. For COVID-19 we are using monoclonal antibodies, and for diphtheria, tetanus also we are using antibody treatment, immunoglobulin treatment. First doctors try to reduce the microorganism load, try to kill the microorganisms by using chemicals. They try to reduce their number by using drugs, chemicals. If not possible, so doctors transfer or give so these immunoglobulins, also called antibodies. Okay. See here I am giving the difference between active and passive immunity. So here you can get full clarity. Active immunity produced by the body's own immunosystem. Okay. Here antigen enter in our body, antibodies produce our own body antigen. So here passive immunity, administration of antibodies into the host. Somewhere antibodies are produced and introducing into the host. And latent period varying from the few days to weeks. So after entering of antigens to produce antibodies, it takes few weeks, months also. That's why after vaccination, immediately here antibodies are not produced. So after entering of antigen, immediately antibodies are not produced. It takes some days, weeks, months also. For example, after entering of the say malaria parasite or a virus, immediately within the minute our body not produce antibodies. It takes at least some days, weeks, etc. So that's why here, period, latent period, days to weeks. So no latent period because we are injecting directly antibodies, they directly act on antigens, microorganisms. Next, immunological memory is present. So here in case antibodies are lost, our body cells, memory cells present, they recognize again freshly enter antigen, again enter into antigen. So this is called immunological memory, also called memory cells activated. Here there is no immunological memory. Okay, so again you compulsory introduced here antibodies for same disease again or so another disease to another antibodies. And next, long lasting. This immunity present years, sometime lifetime, only limited, short duration, 1 week, 10 days, 15 days, that's all. More effective and less effective. Here this is the best. Here active immunity best. In case active immunity not possible, then doctors advise passive immunity. And not useful in immunodeficient individuals. Okay, but it is useful to immunodeficient individuals or host. Reason in immunodeficient individuals already they are using drugs, so that's why these are not that much effective. And this is useful to the immunodeficient host people. Okay, so these are the differences between these two. Okay, this way you can get clarity. And you can expect a question on this also. What are the differences between active immunity, passive immunity? What are the differences between natural immunity, adaptive immunity, or innate immunity and adaptive immunity? Okay, so that's why here, dear students, concepts very important. With help of the concept, you can get full clarity. Next slide also giving very clear idea about the here active immunity, passive immunity. So active immunity. So here produced actively by the host immunosystem. Here that host received antibodies produced in somewhere and received passively or no active host participation. Here host participation not present. Okay, so somebody donating these antibodies into the host. So here host body directly produced antibodies induced by infection or by immunogen. So how here antibodies are produced, how immunity increases, so natural infection or so antigens in the form of vaccination. So here ready-made antibodies are transferred. So because of the natural infection or vaccination, here antibodies are produced. Here directly antibodies are transferred to in this person body. And next, durable effective protection, less effective. And immunity effective only after the lag period, here immediately immunity. So it takes certain time to get this type of immunity, it takes time, weeks, months, but here so immediate. And memory present, no memory. Here booster dose effective, boost means second time, third time, same vaccine or infection, so more and more resistance developed and it's not effective. Okay, so like this These are the differences between active immunity, passive immunity. And next, so again you see this slide, it's very clear difference between active immunity, passive immunity. So active immunity, two types, natural, artificial. In natural, by different methods, different modes, microorganisms enter in our body through food, water, touch and other methods, and these are act like antigens, our body produces antibodies. And here through the vaccination, we are introducing antigens, and in response to this our body produced antibodies. And passive immunity. So here mother to baby directly antibodies are enter, or so antibodies present in plasma, blood, we are injecting into the person's patient body. So monoclonal antibodies are directly plasma like this. Okay, next. Yeah, now questions, model questions. So describe the various types of immunity in our body. So immunity, two types. Innate immunity, present birth onwards. Again this is different types. Racial immunity, species immunity, individual immunity. And second one, acquired immunity. Acquired immunity, again two types, active, passive. Okay, see you write this, acquired immunity, active, passive. Again active immunity, two types, natural active, artificial active. Passive immunity, two types, so natural passive and artificial passive. So these are the different types of immunity in our body. So you write each one as a side heading. For example, you write like this, and you can write even table form also. For example, this is innate immunity, acquired immunity. Acquired immunity, two types. Okay, so active, passive. Active immunity, two types, natural, artificial. This is also same, natural and artificial, like this. So here active natural immunity, artificial active immunity, natural active immunity. So here natural passive immunity, artificial passive immunity. So write each one as a side heading. For example, so natural active immunity, artificial active immunity, each one as a side heading. Then write what is that type of immunity with examples. So that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 side headings, and write about them. So this way you can write very good answer to this question. Next. Here, innate immunity is better than the acquired immunity, elaborate. So here innate immunity present from birth onwards. Because of the body mechanism, genes, our body shows some resistance. This resistance forever the best. No need to take any antigen, antibody, etc. Our body automatically developed that antibodies. So no need to take vaccination, no need to take any treatment for particular disease, or no need to introduce any antibodies. So present birth onwards, automatically it's give protection. We are completely free from the disease. So this way innate immunity is very useful than the acquired immunity. Acquired immunity, lifetime, because of the infection we are developing. But sometimes because of the infection, there is a chance to death or more damage to organism or persons. That's why adaptive immunity is innate immunity is better than the adaptive immunity or acquired immunity. So persons who are showing more innate immunity, they are free from more diseases, showing resistance to diseases. That's why, so this is the best immunity compared to the other types of immunity. So this is different person to person. Here individual to individual. So like this, dear students, first you write what is innate immunity and what is adaptive immunity. To answer this question, first you write what is innate immunity, what is adaptive immunity, then elaborate how, why this innate immunity is better than the acquired immunity, adapted immunity. Next slide like this. Next question. Define acquired active immunity. How does it protect us from diseases? So here acquired immunity, again two types, active and passive. In active immunity, antigens enter in our body and produce antibodies. Okay, first you write what is acquired immunity, acquired active immunity. So acquired immunity means here lifetime you are developing immunity, acquired immunity. In this, so acquired active immunity, antigens enter in our body. So antigens enter in our body through natural or artificial. That's why active immunity two types, artificial or natural. So in artificial, we are injecting antigens in the form of the vaccines. Natural, because of the different methods, different ways, microorganisms enter in our body, these act like antigens and our body produces antibodies. So like this, so define acquired active immunity meaning. Here, when microorganisms enter in our body, they act like antigens and antibodies produced. This immunity is called acquired active immunity. In this, antigen stimulate the antibody production. And second one, how does it protect us from diseases? Once antibodies are produced, they are lifelong present, or memory cells present. Second time any same microorganism is enter, ready-made antibodies try to kill that microorganism or stop that activity, inactivate that microorganism. That's why compared to the passive immunity, active immunity the best. Because of the active immunity, lifelong immunity present. Whenever for example, through the vaccines we are introducing antigens, weakened antigens, but our body think it is a real antigens. Whenever real antigens are enter, because of the vaccination, antibodies developed these antibodies, so inactive the here real antigens. So this way, here acquired active immunity present lifetime. Second time, third time, same infection, not cause that much damage because antibodies are present. Okay. So here, how does it protect from us diseases meaning? Because of these antibodies are produced. Antibodies, so kill, eliminate, inactivate this antigen. So we are showing lifelong protecting mechanism, lifelong resistance. And next, what is acquired immunity? Discuss its types. So acquired immunity means we are getting from birth to total lifetime. In this, antigens enter, antibodies produce, or sometimes directly antibodies so enter in our body, develop immunity. So based on how this immunity developed, here acquired immunity two types. Okay, so active and passive. So in active, antigens enter and our body produces antibodies. Again, this is two types, natural, artificial. In natural microorganism enter in our body because of the contaminated water, food and etc. and our body developed antibodies. In artificial, we are introducing antigens in the form of vaccines. And here passive. In passive immunity, we are directly introducing antibodies. So how antibodies are entering in our body based on this passive immunity, again two types. Again, natural and artificial. Natural means mother to baby through the placenta, breast milk. So antibodies enter in our body and develop resistance. In artificial, some other host, some other donors, somewhere antibodies are produced. Donor to host. We are giving these antibodies to host. Somewhere synthesized antibodies, somewhere produced antibodies, we are introducing into the host or diseased persons. Sometimes antibodies developed in animals. Sometimes antibodies developed in factories, monoclonal antibodies by using biotechnological methods. We are transferring them into the diseased persons. Already somebody developed antibodies because of the infection, for example COVID-19. We are transferring these antibodies in the plasma therapy into the other persons. So like this acquired immunity, different types. So again you write these all are the as a different side headings. For example, this is side heading, this is side heading, this is a one side heading, this is a one side heading. Okay. So this way, dear students, so you can write very clearly about these questions. Next, discuss the types of innate immunity. So innate immunity, so meaning present from birth onwards. So again this is a different types: racial immunity, individual immunity, species immunity, and plus write about the factors influence innate immunity: age, hormones, nutrition, etc. So write again these as a side heading. For example, racial immunity as side heading example, species immunity as side heading example, individual immunity as side heading as an example. Next, factors influence the innate immunity. So dear students, so these are the few questions in this.